Welcome to another episode of Wine and Chisme. Today we have Sandra Guzman. Hola, Sandra. How are you today?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
I am so good. I am so tired, but so good. I was just telling Sandra that right before I got on with her, I was clearing out my email that has, I think I got it down to in the 7,000. So obviously it was a lot more. So my brain is a little burnt. So I'm happy to be doing this with you today. It was burnt. Now we're going to saturate it with wine.
Good.
I am very excited to have you here because you have done a lot of things and we're going to touch on a lot of things. So I'm going to read your bio
Okay,
and
sounds
then you
good.
can tell me what kind of, I know you're drinking vino today, so you get to share with me what you're drinking.
Okay.
So Sandra is an author, mortgage loan officer, and mom of three boys navigating life, love, money, and identity in spaces that weren't built for women like us. She works in a male dominated industry where she's learned to take up space, advocate loudly, and still lead with heart. She is the author of The One Who Stayed, a novel rooted in self worth, emotional endurance, and the quiet strength it takes to break generational patterns, especially as Latina women who were taught to stay, sacrifice, and stay silent. Her story blends motherhood, cultural expectations, ambition, and the messy reality of choosing yourself when it goes against everything you were taught. She loves she put that she loves honest conversations and about relationships, money, and motherhood. So we're
Yes.
gonna get into all of that. But you know what's so beautiful is we've actually had like I feel like especially the second half of this season, there's really been a common thread in
Yes.
regards to unlearning patterns that we learned when we were little
Oh, yes.
and taking up space and it's so beautiful
Mhm.
because everybody has their own ways of doing that, but at the same everybody's kind of learned at the same time, like we maybe that's due to our age, right? So we're kind of all on the same
The
like
same right now.
yeah, same wavelength, but it's so awesome to see because we're all in this like late millennial, early to mid Gen X era
Yes.
that we did kind of just do what we were told. So many of us with our parents were taught just be in the room, get your job, put your head down, do the work,
Mhm.
don't make waves.
Yes.
And
Calladita te ves más bonita.
exactly, yes. And then also it becomes, but wait, like I'm still getting treated differently, or I'm still being told I'm too much. I'm still like, no matter what we did. So before we get into all of that, we're going to start with the wine. So, Sandra, what kind of wine are you drinking today?
Drinking Bosquette Cabernet Sauvignon. I don't know if you can see it.
Nice. We love a good Cabernet Sauvignon. We love it. I'm actually drinking, this is from Paso Robles.
Okay.
This is Ruch Wines.
Good.
And it's a standalone Grenache. So, and I think this is a 2023, and they're out. So it's a Latina-owned wine.
Oh,
She's actually from San Diego. So, uh, she came over, we sat down, we drank a lot of her wines. So this is some of her wines. And she lives in Paso Robles now. So this is we love it and it's really good. So I am lucky I don't have to just open this wine because it's one that we drink. So salud, mujer, salud. Oh, I like your wine glass.
you.
You know what? Just what I need right now. And
Just
I
to
yes, bring me down, bring me down. Not too down, but just bring me like
enough. Just enough.
relax, relax. So I see like you're in the Altadena area. Is that the area? First of all, how a year later, how was your home during the fires last year?
Well, our whole community was completely impacted. The homes all around us did burn. I was very fortunate. My adult boys, I have 3 boys total, but 2 of them are adults. Them and their dad, Jose, came back and they saved our house. If they hadn't come back, our house for sure would have burned. But they stayed and they fought the fires. There was no water. There was no electricity. So apparently you need electricity for the pumps to work. And since there was no electricity, there was no water for the firefighters to use. So the only way you could really save your house was if people came back and they were firefighters for themselves. So in that sense, our home is still standing. They had a lot of smoke damage, and obviously just living through having to see a whole community gone because everything else around us did burn.
Oh my gosh. I'm not even gonna say I can't imagine. I can't imagine because we went through a fire in our apartment
Oh, wow.
a little over like a year and a half ago.
Oh, how scary.
Yeah, and our neighbor like deliberately set a fire. She tried to blow up our apartment complex.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Thank
it
God
was
you're
on we're
okay.
in a small complex. There's only 7 units.
Okay.
And so I can imagine how scary that is and how overwhelming that is. But not to that extent, right? Like that
Right.
is
Yeah, I mean, it completely looked like once that we were allowed to go into certain areas, because at the beginning, a lot of places were closed off and we couldn't go past our own street. The National Guard was here and they were making sure that we weren't going into certain areas. But once it started to open up, I mean, you're driving. I've grown up here. We've been here for 3 generations now. So everything you've grown up knowing, the parks, the landmarks, just different things, the schools, my children, I raised them. I grew up about 3 blocks from where our home is. So my kids have grown up here, and to see the majority of the things burned was just so devastating. You couldn't just drive and not cry. I mean, you're seeing your childhood and all your memories are vanished. They all
yeah.
burned. And even in driving, I was talking to someone else. We were comparing that we were driving through the streets and you don't realize how much everything is landmark recognition. We were completely lost driving through certain streets because how do you know where you're at if certain homes are gone or certain landmarks are gone? And we were comparing how we were just driving. Eventually we'll get somewhere that we recognize.
Yeah.
So
I I just when I had seen where you were, I was like, oh my gosh, like my heart just dropped when I saw Altadena and I was like, oh man.
yeah.
How is your home now? Like, how is the neighborhood now? Is it recovering? Are people able to rebuild?
So now the rebuilding process has started in the last couple of months. So you're starting to see movement. You're starting to see homes are starting to get rebuilt. People are starting to move back because a lot of people even if their homes were still standing, they had to move out in order to have a lot of the smoke damage repaired. So people are starting to move back. There's still a lot of reconstruction that needs to be done. Maybe not even 1% of the community has started rebuilding just because there's so much red tape with getting permits and getting things rebuilt, but it's really nice to start seeing homes starting to go up.
I'm sure. How are you guys? Have you been able to move back into your
Oh yeah.
home?
My kids, because they were here and they saw all the destruction once we were able, the fires had stopped. What happened is that looters started to come in because they knew that nobody was in their homes. So they started
Right.
to come in and break into the properties and they started stealing what hadn't burned. So my boys, they were like, we're not leaving. We did all this work for somebody else to come in and now steal whatever we were able to save. So since they wanted to come back, I came back and we ended up cleaning our whole house. Like, like mom taught us, fabuloso, cloro, mix it all together. Okay, you guys want to stay? We got to wash and clean everything because everything is so toxic. So
Yeah.
we were almost camping out because there was no gas, there was no light, there wasn't anything. You had to boil water to shower. You had to cook outside in the barbecue. And I mean, it was just a means to survive and make sure to protect our home.
Well, I am so glad that that you're able to be in your home and, you know, big time prayers to your community and to all of those who are still rebuilding. Like you said, it's going to take a long time because this is generation or generate the crazy. I remember when everything was happening and obviously being in San Diego, I wasn't, but I remember thinking, these are not even homes. Like when we think of the fires, we're thinking in like high density brush areas next to the mountains. Like these homes were like in the city, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what
Yeah.
boggles the mind, right? Because you don't think like in the middle of the city.
Right. And it completely takes away your sense of security because growing up here, there's fires in the foothills every season. You all
Mhm.
automatically know there's going to be fires. And I remember
Right.
being a kid and my dad would be like, I no seas mensa. Like the whole city has to burn in order for it to get to us. And I'm like, okay, well, guess what? The whole city did burn and it made it to us. So it does take that sense of security away because now it's like, well, a whole city can burn. That sense of security before was we're right next to JPL. So you think, oh, well, JPL is right next to us. They're not going to let the whole city burn. There's a lot
Yeah.
of a huge wealth of people that live in the community that are from the entertainment industry, from engineering. So you think like they're going to take care of those homes. Nope. All of it
Don't
didn't
they
matter.
call Altadena the Latino Beverly Hills?
Yes, I mean, you think that's your sense of security. Like there's these $1 billion homes up here or $1 million homes, and they're not going to let these burn. But it all burned. I mean, the fire didn't care, the winds didn't care how much money you made or who you were or how long you had lived there. It just came and took everything. So that
Yeah.
that sense of security is gone. And we had winds not that long ago. A couple of weeks ago, it was really windy again. And the people that survived it are like, oh my God, are we going to have a fire again? So now you do have
The
that PTSD from it.
PTSD. Yeah. No, I understand that. Understand. Like,
Yeah.
we it like I said, it's definitely not in the same thing, but just when something like that happens, right next to us, there's a church that they completely tore it down because I don't know what else they're gonna build there. But one night I was like, oh my God, do I smell fire? Like I started
Like,
freaking out. Yeah. Because that's what happened last time. My husband was in the bedroom and he was like, do you smell that? And I thought it was the neighbor. I thought because it's a long story, but I thought she had started the dumpster on fire. And I
okay.
was like literally like, that stupid bitch probably started the dumpster on fire. And so I go outside, there's nothing there. But when I walk in, she's the apartment is two doors down from us.
Oh, wow. That was right next to you.
Yeah. And literally all of a sudden I see billows of smoke coming from and I yelled, oh my gosh, honey, like her apartment's on fire. And he got the fire extinguisher and he was trying to put it out. And there was like, she had started three fires. And
Oh
these
my
are like
God.
one bedroom apartment girls. These are
Yeah.
like 600 square feet. She had started three fires. And in the
Oh,
meantime, I'm banging on the doors trying to wake everybody up
trying to
and
get
get
everybody
them
out.
out, close all the windows because we have the dogs and I don't want to get smoke damage. I don't want my dogs to get the smoke until I can get them out.
Yeah.
And you just have like that, just it's a visceral reaction. So I
Yeah.
can only imagine that kind of reaction is going to be there for a while, like
Yeah.
with the winds or anytime you smell like, is somebody barbecuing or is somebody having carne asada, or is that like what's happening? Because I instantly smelled, like I said, and then my husband came in and said, oh yeah, the homeless people had started a fire. He had
Mhm.
called 911 because we can't take that chance again that it's going to start on the other, like another fire is going to start on the other side of us. And
You
it just,
can never be too careful. And now it's just, you're always going to be on alert anytime
yeah,
you feel it.
yeah, it's so crazy, but I'm so happy that you are say like I said, that you were safe, that your house, fortunately,
Yes.
was saved, and that you guys are,
Thank you.
now, yeah, in your home. And do you have how is everything now? Is everything like good in your house now? Are you still, did you guys have to go to like go through any like remediation
We have
process
to
to
go
get the
through
smoke?
remediation. I mean, the insurance was everybody's struggling with insurance. As you know, California was having a lot of issues with insurances. A lot of people in the area, their insurance had been dropped a couple of weeks before the fire even happened.
That should
But
be illegal.
yeah, so there a lot of people are suing. A lot of people had to get attorneys. But as far as our home, I mean, for now we're okay. Every couple of months something new comes out. Recently, we found out that all the homes are testing positive for lead. So now that's something else we have to deal with. So that we have to figure out how to get the home tested and figure out how do you fix that. Is there a fix? So just kind of
Yeah, I mean those houses were built so long ago, right? That's why that would happen.
Yes. So a lot of the homes were built in the 1800s. They're very old homes. So when all of the fires happened, all of that stuff went into the air because of the wind. So, I
Hmm.
mean, as time progresses, I'm sure there's going to be other issues and there's going to be other things because not only are we rebuilding, but as the houses are being rebuilt, they have to dig in through the dirt, and that's what's causing things to go back up. And we're just going to have that problem for a while.
Oh my gosh. Well, living in that area and no, and having these houses, oh my gosh, how much I didn't even realize that there were houses like that these houses were so old. I mean, I figured maybe 20s, 30s, but to have, and that's funny to say 20s and 30s because now you can say 2020 and like what how was it growing up in that area and how has it changed since you how has Altadena changed since you grew up in that area and you've stayed in that area versus then versus now?
Oh my God, our area has changed so much. When I was a kid, it was predominantly minorities. That's all that there was here. Um, because of redlining, this is where the minorities always lived. And just growing up was just so it was so different. It was such a close community just because there was just a variation of just different races. So you learn to live amongst each other. Um, Everybody was very close. Everybody was very it was just a different time. As time has gone on, it's become very gentrified. I mean, now we'll see what happens once the community is rebuilt. But even my children and the way that they grew up, I have adults and I have a teenager, and even the way that they've grown up is very so different. Um, my boys grew up a lot around a lot of Black kids, a lot of Mexican kids, some Asian kids, where my younger son has grown up predominantly just around white kids. So even in the way that their education has been completely different because the school that they were at, the
Take as
school
much time as you need. If you need to drink water or anything, I want to make sure you're good.
um even in the way that they've grown up is completely different from how I grew up. I mean, we grew up in a time where you could walk through the streets, you could ride the bus, you could be out and about doing things, and everybody knows each other. And one of the things about like my area is that everybody knows each other. You can't talk to somebody that is from the area. Like I can, like let's say you were from Pasadena and you or Altadena, or as we officially call it, Dina, because
Yeah.
if you're Dina, there's going to be somebody that we both connect to. There has to be, like, we'll have a conversation and, oh, you know this person, I know this person too, and that's just the way it is here. Everybody there isn't it's such a huge community, but everybody is so tight knit.
I that is one thing that we're seeing kind of across so many areas, right? So many areas that were red line areas
Mm-hmm.
in regards to gentrification. And that is one thing that I think I've heard so many people worried about, that because you have families that have lived in these homes for generations, and are they going to be able to rebuild? Are they like uh and being and actually let me ask you this from a mortgage perspective, because since that's what you do, for since you're a loan officer, from a mortgage perspective, how does that shift in regards to being able to rebuild? Is it just sit like, because all of these, I mean, obviously I mortgages don't stop when your house burns down. Somebody still has to make a mortgage payment, but then you're also trying to survive. And whether that's, hopefully you have a friend or family that can take you in. But if not, you're having to rent a hotel or you're having to find another place to stay. And if money becomes tighter, what are you seeing from a mortgage perspective in regards to what's happening in LA from the areas that were affected by the fires?
A lot of people are choosing to sell. A lot of people are. I mean, a lot for at first, everybody kept saying, we're not selling. We're going to stay. We're going to figure it out. However, the longer it's taking for permits to get approved, for insurances to want to give money for them to figure out what they're going to do. And one of the problems that's happening is that contractors are coming in and asking for money. The person will pay it and then they disappear. So there goes a big chunk of your reconstruction budget. So especially the older community, they're choosing, like, this is too much work. I'd rather sell and move somewhere else and maybe downsize into something that's more manageable for them. And so more businesses or co-ops or groups are coming in and purchasing these lots so that they can build homes and flip them and sell them. So that's why I was saying earlier, like, let's see what happens once everything's rebuilt, because these lots are huge. This area is just known for having large lots, which means that if they're zoned a certain way, you don't need to change the zoning in order to build apartments there. So maybe not, there was one house before where now a developer can come in and build apartment buildings. So, I mean, we're just going to have to see what ends up coming of, once the reconstruction is done. But on the mortgage side, we are seeing that a lot of people are choosing to sell because they can't manage this mortgage payment and paying rent somewhere else.
That is so, because then that completely changes the dynamic of the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Completely.
Yeah.
That's so sad.
It
And
is, because you imagine, like, you remember the street being this beautiful house full of cottages and craftsman homes, because that's what there was up there. And what if you buy the lot and you build this beautiful home? What if a developer comes in and decides they want to build a bunch of condos? Now you're stuck living next to a bunch of condos and you built this dream house. Do you still want to live there?
yeah. Oh, my heart is just, oh, my heart hurts for your community. Seriously, for everybody that's having to go through this, because the thing is nobody's talking about it really anymore, because that's what the news cycle is, right? It's not the hot, no pun intended, it's not the hot news. But at the same time, like, there's people that are living this every day and still being affected by it every day. At
Yeah.
what point, like, what kind of kid were you? Because obviously you are growing up in a neighborhood that is mixed with all kinds of people that yeah, you can ride your bike, you can be a little callejera to a certain point till the street lights come on, right?
I had very strict Catholic Mexican parents. I mean, I was their only daughter. I have a bunch of brothers.
Oh,
So
so it was
my
really
brothers
bad for you.
were and they were out being traviesos and everything, but their only daughter, like, you need to be at home. So growing up, I think I was more shy. I loved to read. That was one of the things I used to love to do, and I still love to do. They kept me very involved in our church. So my kids always laugh at me because I'm like, I was a church kid, and they're like, you don't even know how to pray. I said, yes, I do. Because I think that makes you be the complete opposite when you grow up in a very Catholic home or a very, very over the top religious household. You tend to either continue or you go opposite, and I went complete opposite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very quiet, and I just loved to read and write, and I spent time with my friends, but they always had to come to my house because my dad was like, oh no, you're my daughter, you're not going to go to anybody's house, which now as a parent myself, I completely appreciate, because you hear so many stories, of what happened to a lot of kids, and the fact that my parents were overprotective, I know that was a lot of the reason that I was safe.
Yeah. So I can't talk. Ugh. That's what's editing this for.
Have a drink, have a drink.
Okay,
It'll
have
help.
a drink, have a drink. All right. So growing up, what was the thing that got you excited about, whether it was going to school or whether it was sports or whether it was any other type of activity, whether it was just reading, like what kind of like
I think
child were
for
you?
my excitement was always hanging out with my friends. I've had the same group of friends since I was in elementary school. I mean, we've all kind of gone our own way in life, but we all managed to still stay in touch. Some of my friends still live in the area. Other people have moved out of state. But that was one of the things that was the funnest to me, just because I think because my parents kept me in a bubble, like going out and seeing them, living vicariously through them. It was a lot of fun. Like, I had a really good, one of my good friends, her parents were free spirits, and she was the last of all of their kids, and they would let her do whatever. And I was like, that is so cool. I wish I could do that too. And one time I remember we were in high school and she was sneaking out of her house. And I'm like, dude, why are you sneaking out of your house? Your parents let you do whatever you want. And she's like, I don't know, because it seems like fun. And I'm like, but your parents don't even care.
Okay, that was kind of me. I mean, not that my parents let me do whatever I want, but I'm second gen, so I had a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
And So I was a little callejera, and then my mom would be like, "Ah, you're always out in the calle. You better like yeah." But that's no, I would sneak out every once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's not that no, now what I was sneaking out to do, and my parents wouldn't let me be sneaking out at like 10 o'clock at night or go out at 10 o'clock at night at high school. But still, I still had relatively a lot of freedom compared to a lot of my friends.
Yeah, I didn't have any freedom. I mean, even just going out and doing stuff, there was a curfew and you better not be a minute late or you're not going to go out for a month. But I used to, even like that, I mean, I still got to go to concerts and I still got to go do certain activities and I still had fun and get into trouble in the middle of them not knowing what I was actually doing because
Yeah, no.
I got free phones and trackers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, girl. Okay,
I'm
I need to hear what I'm going to tell you one of my stories, but I need to hear one of your stories. Okay.
okay.
So I think it was freshman in high school. Me and my friend and her sister were saying we said we were going to the movies, which was literally right down the street from our house.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the movies and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go to a party." I don't think I knew we were going to go to a party at that point. They're like, "We're going to go to a party. Somebody's going to come pick us up and take us." So we go and it's the city called Escondido, and we go up to Valley Center, which is like up the grade, right? We get there and I have a curfew. So I'm like, I'm cool with this as long as I get home on time. Like that's my
Right.
thing, right? Like
Make
I'm
sure
not
you're on
gonna,
time.
yeah, make sure I'm on time. Look, I'll do it. I don't mind. Like I'll get into mischief, but if I'm not at home on time, then I
Yeah.
can't get into any more mischief. So, and then my friend's like, well, we're gonna go on a beer run.
Okay.
They leave, and I'm like, no, what? How long are you gonna take? How long are you gonna take? Because I like if you're going back into town, that's at least a good 30-minute drive.
Right.
Well, it's time for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, where is she? Where is she? And I leave. I can't, I'm like, I tell my friend, you need to take me back. He's like, all right. The sister stayed because she doesn't want to leave her sister. I
Yeah.
get it, totally understand. But I'm like, I told you not to go, and you went anyways, and I'm leaving. So I get home totally on time. I'm in bed. And then I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, my mom's waking me up.
Mhm.
Do you know where Cindy is? Huh? Where's like, because my mom's like, no, Jay's here. She's, when they call my mom, like, no, she's here. She got home on time and da da da.
Mhm.
And then they're asking me, well, what happened? I'm like, Cindy's not home. She's missing.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. So I'm like, okay, so I have to tell the truth at this point. Like, I can't lie. My friend is missing. So
Right.
I tell him what happened. And apparently, the sister, like, I don't know what time Cindy came back, but it got to the point where the sister had to leave. She's like, and so she gets home, the mom comes in the room, and Cindy's not there. So then the mom is asking her sister, and she says, this is where she goes. So they drive up to where the party is. The mom picks her up. They get in a fight. She gets out of the car. The mom drives for like 5 minutes, turns around. Cindy's gone.
Oh my God.
So nobody knows where she is. It's all over the news that she's missing. Well, apparently she just went to a friend's house and was mad. So I don't know at what point, like, back then we didn't have cell phones or anything. Like you said,
No
no
trackers, no
GPS,
nothing.
no trackers, no anything. And I was like, girl, you busted our spot because you had to go on the beer run. You busted our spot. And now, like, my mom's going to be all up my butt of where am I going? Who am I going with? Like, not going to try. And I was just like, hey, I came home on time. Like, don't get mad at me. So that's like one of, I think, the most weighted
Memorable.
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a similar story somewhat. I went out to a concert with a bunch of my friends and our boyfriends. And so we went and again, my parents were super strict. So if they said be home at 11, you better be in my door at 10:59. So we all went. One of the girls that went with us, she was wild child. She just did not care about curfews. She didn't care about anybody else's, times that they needed to be home. She really didn't care. Fine, whatever. We went. She came with us. We all go one way. She takes off and she's just doing her thing. Okay, well, you can be gone, but you need to be back at a certain time because we all got curfews. You need to be back.
That was always the key. You just got to be back.
So whatever time it was, like we all met at the door where we were supposed to all meet, and she's not anywhere to be found. And we're like, well, where's she at? Who knows? We don't know. We all gotta go. If she ain't coming back, then she can find her own way home. And we were far. We live in Pasadena, and she was all the way. We were in Anaheim at this concert.
Oh yeah.
So it was like we need to go. So everybody gets to the car, and one of the girls in the car was like, "We can't leave. Like she's my friend. Like how do I leave her?" And it was like, well, we got curfews. Like, I'm not going to get in trouble for her. I'm going to be grounded for a month. And I'm in the car on time. And she was like, well, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. She starts to get up and her boyfriend's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm going to go look for her because she's my friend. And he's like, you're not leaving. You're dumb. They get into a big fight. He gets off of the car because he's like, you're dumb. Like, you're here with me. Why are you going to go look for her? She knew the time. If she chose not to come, like, that's her problem. And she was like, no, I'm going to go look for her. And in the end, he got off of the car. She stayed in the car. And it was already, I had to be home at 11. We all had to be home at 11. By then, it was already midnight. And we were still in Anaheim.
Oh, no.
So then he ends up getting off. He ends up walking home from Anaheim to Pasadena. I don't know what time he got back. He was so mad, walked. And then we're driving home. We had to pull over at some point because we all needed to call home and kind of tell them what was going on. And we're going to be like 2 hours late. So, we're all upset because we're like, this bitch is going to, just going to get us all grounded. Find out that she ended up becoming friends or meeting up with one of the bands that was performing, and she ended up staying with them. That's why she never came back, because they were like, we'll give you a ride home. And we're like, okay, you could have let everybody else.
Was she home on time?
No, she got home the next day. And the rest of us were grounded.
But what's so funny is, like, same, like, our thing is, you left, fine, we're going, like, I don't know, like, there was like this fearlessness, right, of growing up. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, where is she? We're like, girl, you left. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like, and there was no phones, there were no cell phones. There were, like, we were at a party in the middle of freaking, like, a ranch. Like, there was no phones at all. So it's not like she could call a payphone or anything. We're just like in the middle of this freaking place. And God, I miss those times.
Well, that's the one thing that we talk about, this generation of kids, like, because our generation, we didn't have a choice other than to figure things out. You just had to figure it out because there wasn't an internet. There was no cell phones to be like, hey, let me check this. I mean, you just had to figure it out. Like, you wanted to know how to get somewhere, take out your Thomas guide and figure out how to get there. And if you got
I was a pro at the bus. I could get anywhere on the bus. I knew where to go. I knew where the transfer places were. I just knew. I was like, no, we have to go here. Okay, yeah, there. Like, I was such a pro on the bus until I could drive.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like, I joked saying the motto of my life has been figure it out.
Yeah.
Because
that was the only way to survive, was to figure it out.
Yeah, that's so crazy. And I know, and I see, like, it just kind of goes into, like, the things that you were talking about, right? Like, you wanted to break generational patterns. You wanted to have these things. But I think one of the things, like I was saying, like, so many women our age have figured it out. Maybe that's the title of the episode. We'll figure it out.
Yes, I think so. I mean, in talking about changing generational curses, I mean, I think we're taught for so long that we need to be a certain way. And that's the way we grow up. Because even with the curfews are, in a way, a sense of, grooming you to learn to follow somebody's rules. And then you grow up and then you think, like, I can't go outside of whatever the scope is because that's what you're allowed.
Yeah.
And as you get older, you come to the realization that, there's a bigger world, and you need to stop being scared, because it is a fear that's being, ingrained in your brain. Like, you need to be scared.
Yes. When did you start figuring that out in regards to I have been taught to follow somebody else's rules and it's time to make my own.
When I turned 40, my whole life changed when I turned 40, and I started to put in a lot of more work on myself. And I came to the realization, like, I've been living my life based on what I've been groomed to believe.
Yeah.
And as I started to stop being scared of certain things and start believing in myself more, I realized, like, I spent a lot of time being afraid, where I could have just been fearless and done a lot more things that would have probably made me a lot happier. But maybe I wouldn't have appreciated them as much in my 20s as I do now in my 40s.
Yeah. What is something that you held on to, like until you figured that out? Like for me, it was my parents always banged into my head. You never live with somebody unless you're married. You never live with some, like literally, that was freaking nailed. Now, I would have boyfriends who would stay over a lot, whatever, but not ever live. The first time I ever lived with somebody was with my now husband.
Mhm.
He's the only man that I've ever out besides my dad, right? Like he's the only man that I have ever lived with. And I was what 46, 45 when we moved in together. I had not ever lived with a man. I had a guy roommate, but it wasn't like a romantic thing when I lived
Right.
in Dallas. And he was like the best roommate I ever had. He was so cool. He met his now wife while we were, and he was like the chillest, coolest roommate I ever had. But as in a romantic sense, but it's because that always sat with me.
Mhm.
And until I was 45 years old, I that was still there. And then finally I'm like, well, if we want to be together, I need to see how he is when we're living with him.
Was it still awkward for you?
It was hard. The
Mhm.
first 6 months,
Mhm.
I was so used to everything being my way, and he moved into my apartment. It's our apartment now, but
Right.
he moved into my apartment. I thought we were going to break up the first 6 months that we lived together because it was really difficult for me to let go.
Yeah.
I wanted
But I
to
think that's for
control
anybody.
everything.
When you first move in with somebody, it's really difficult because you've both grown up differently, and it's completely different lives that you're trying to mesh together. And it's like, I'm not giving up mine, and I'm not giving up mine either.
Oh, and but that's the part. I was like, I'm not giving up mine, but you have to give up yours. And he
Yeah.
would, and he
Oh,
did.
that's good. Yeah.
And but finally he would be like, look,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm just living in your apartment, that this isn't our apartment.
Yeah.
Like I had to let go. I had to release some of that. But that came from my parents
Yeah.
and not ever wanting to let it was my space and because I could never live with anybody. So do you have something like that where you just have
So
held on?
I think for me, the one thing that my parents always ingrained, even though my dad was a little conflicted with that, it was your value as a woman is tied to your partner. So, the spouse that you choose to marry, the man that you choose to marry, that's where your value is tied. So you need to make sure that your partner is always happy, that you're always agreeing to whatever they want. You are always trying to mold yourself and fix yourself to be everything that they need, and you forget about who you are. But my dad was a little bit conflicted because he also was like, let me teach you how to do this so you don't ever need anybody, let me teach you how to do that so you don't ever. But at the same time, it was like, but you also need to make sure that you're being submissive to your spouse, which was not necessarily a good thing, because he taught me how to do like house stuff, like how to fix a light, how to maybe paint a wall. Then when I got married, I was just like, I don't need you, I can do it myself. And then I wanted to do everything myself because then I learned how to do all that stuff by myself.
Oh my gosh, that's seriously, that sounds so familiar because I was like, I could do it. I lived by myself for so long. I
Yeah.
can do it. I can do it. So my husband makes fun of me. He's like, I lived alone for 364 years.
But it's the truth. I mean, it wasn't so much because I lived by myself. It was just that that's the what I was taught. So and then forever, it was I think you learn to make yourself small because that's what you're taught. Like you shouldn't have dreams and you shouldn't have a voice because, like I said earlier, calladita te ves más bonita. So you learn to keep your voice small in order to keep your significant other happy. And it's not their fault. I mean, that's just the way I was brought up, and a lot of people are brought up that way. So I always try to teach my kids, like, respect your partner, whoever they are, because they have dreams and they have hopes and they have things that they want to do. Don't make them minimize their voice just because that's what society tells us.
Yeah. And for those who don't speak Spanish, the translation is basically a quiet woman is more beautiful.
Yes.
Just in case somebody doesn't, and they're like, wait, what does that mean? That's basically what it means. A quiet woman is more beautiful.
Yes.
Which doesn't work in my family.
Not anymore. Not in 2026.
Right? Wine break. Time to refill that glass and come back for more Wine and Chisme. Ever wonder where you can find the wines I drink that are made by people who actually look like us? Mi gente, I got you covered because I created the first and most comprehensive directory of Latina-owned wine brands based in the United States. And yes, it is exactly as good as it sounds. From California to Puerto Rico and everything in between. I mean, we are talking about over 100 Latina-owned wine brands, all in one place, ready for you to discover, sip, and support. This is the directory that I wish existed before I built it. So you never have to search far to find wines that represent our cultura, our gente, and our stories. So head over to the wineandchismepodcast.com to explore the full directory. The link is also in the show notes of every episode, so you have zero excuses not to check it out. So what are the things, like, obviously you have this kind of interesting dynamic, which I get but I'm just a family of girls. I'm the oldest of three. So it was like anytime something had to happen, and I'm 5 and 7 years older than my sisters, I was the one. But now I didn't get that. My mom, because my mom was a stay-at-home mom, she always would tell me, like, if something happened to your dad, I don't know what I would do. And I don't ever want you to be in that position. So you need to learn how to take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself. You always need to make sure that, you can survive on your own. And I think I took that and ran with it.
With me, it was, I think growing up, my mom, I was the only girl. I only have brothers. I only have sons. My partner, my husband, he has only brothers. So I've always been surrounded with only men. So it's always been me that takes care of a lot of things. It's always landed on my shoulders to take care of things. And my mom, she used to always say, let me teach you how to do things so that if anything ever happens, you can take care of everybody. So again, it was like, you got to take care of the men because they don't know how to do much. So you got to make sure. And I was thankful for it because when I turned 18, my mom was diagnosed with a pituitary tumor, which is in your brain. And I had to take care of everybody. I didn't have a choice. My mom couldn't manage for herself. And I had to go in and I had to manage not just my siblings who were very young at the time. I'm a lot older than them, but manage household. We needed to cook. We needed to clean. I needed to make sure everybody went to school. I needed to make sure that things were being done because my dad worked a full-time job. He was a construction worker. He came home and he would shower, get ready. He wanted to have dinner and he wanted to be back at the hospital because she was in the hospital for a long time. So I kind of did the same thing with my own children because my mom's philosophy was like, you never know. And so that was very true. So I made sure I did the same with my kids. You never know. Let me teach you how to cook. Let me teach you how to clean. Let me teach you how to wash, the very basics. So when they finally went off to college, they knew how to do those things because I taught them. And I think that those are things that are very important to teach our children because you just never know. Anything can happen.
Absolutely.
You can be bus tomorrow and you're minding your business, but you just never know.
How old were you when your mom went through that?
She was 18. I mean, I was 18. I was 18.
You're still really young.
My brothers were in junior high.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you were still a baby.
Yes.
Having to take care of all of that. How has that affected? I mean, obviously it's affected you to the point where that's something that you've taught your sons.
Yeah.
By the way, good for you, because if you're one of have you seen those TikTok moms who are like, you know, talking all crazy about their sons don't need to do anything because they
Uh,
need a wife who
I've
does
met
this.
people like that in person. I met a mom a couple of years ago, and her son, she was complaining about the daughter-in-law, and because they split responsibilities. When he cleans, she cooks, and when she cooks, he washes the dishes, and if he washes, then she folds, and they just split all of the stuff. And she's like, oh my god, I can't believe that's what my son has to do. Like, he needed to find a woman that was going to do everything for him. And I'm like, why? And she's like, because she's lazy. How is it that you know everything is being done by my son? And I said, but he's not doing everything. They're splitting the responsibilities. And she's like, oh no, he shouldn't be doing anything. He works. And I'm like, so does she? But that's the idea. The idea is very old school. Like, the wife should do everything. And that's understandable if the wife does stay home. But if you both work, then you have to share the responsibilities.
Let's change that a little bit. If she stays home and doesn't work and she's agreed to do that,
Well, then
because
that's
we know
different,
it's,
because that's an agreed upon.
yeah, and it's agreed upon thing because, you know, there are plenty of people who work from home and sometimes their spouses don't recognize. They're like, well, you're home, but I'm
Oh, yeah, but that's
working.
a job anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I left my last job a couple of years ago because my husband's like, work on your podcast, work on the things you want to do. And I work part time, but I am home a majority of the time working from home. But I was like, okay, now we did make an agreement in regards to, and I feel like this kind of goes in between all of the things that we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Um, of because my dream was never because of my mom, like really saying, I want you to be able to take care of yourself. My dream was never to be a stay-at-home wife or mom. And I applaud those women who do because that's a very hard job. That's a
Yeah.
very hard job because the little micromanagers that you have to be around 24/7. Talk about those kiddos. That's rough, right? You're
Yeah.
having to manage their highs, their lows, their temper tantrums, their emotional traumas that happen
Mhm.
all the time, trying to take care of yourself, trying to take care of the house. I'm getting tired just thinking of all the things that has to happen. But when we talked about it, he was like, look, I know you're trying to build something. Like, I want you to do that. And I will, take care of us. Um, I was like, all right, like, let's try it out. And at first, again, it was really hard because
Mhm.
we hadn't fully said, like, oh, I was going to just be like a stay-at-home wife.
Right.
And there was some expectations and we got in arguments, right? We got in arguments. And then finally I was like, look, but one thing that I realized is I was always living in my masculine. Well, I
Yes.
was like, don't know. You're not going to tell me. You're not.
What to
And
do.
yeah. And I finally had to lean into the like, okay. And now I get up. Now that he works evenings, I get up. I don't like making breakfast. I'm not going to lie, but I'll make something small. I'll make breakfast. I'll pack his lunch. And most of the time I make dinner. And then
Yeah.
I say weekends, I'm off. I do not cook on the weekends. That's your job,
Yeah.
right? Because I am cooking all week.
Mhm.
And now that I've gotten into a groove with it, and sometimes it's leftover, sometimes it's just sandwich. Like, it's really not that big of a deal, right?
But you make it with love. That's what
Yes,
matters.
I make it with love and I don't mind it. And then guess what? Sometimes I'm like, you know what? Maybe you should just go get something for lunch today because it's not happening. And he's like, okay. So it's not like, oh, he's expected. Like, if I
Right.
said, I forgot, gotta go drop by, get something to eat. He's like, all
But
right.
that's being human. I think that, roles and now in this age is just so different, and there is no right or wrong way to have a relationship, or to have certain roles. I mean, it's just whatever you make of it. And I think
Yeah.
that as long as it's respectful and it's communicated, that there's nothing wrong with it. There are, I mean, if anybody wants to live the old ways, there's nothing wrong with that either. That's part of it. If you want
Every
to,
relationship is their own relationship.
exactly.
What
My
I know you said that you finally kind of realized a lot of these things when you turned 40. What were some of the perpetually maybe not healthiest things that you were continually doing prior to with it, whether it was as, as you,
Mhm,
right? As a mom, as a
mhm.
wife, or as just like as you, Sandra.
I think one of the things that I was perpetually doing was always lowering my voice. My dreams always were getting put out because I had the strong belief that I didn't have any reason to have dreams, because anytime that I started to have them, there was always somebody to tell me that I didn't have any right to have them. Why do you have dreams? You're a mom and you're a wife, and that's all you should be doing, and that's what your focus should be. So then I would get really excited and then be like, okay, well then maybe later. But I had to come to the realization over time and at my own time that that wasn't the reality. Like, why can't I be a mom, a wife, and have dreams and have goals? Like, what's wrong with that? I'm the one that has to deal with it. It's not affecting anybody else. And if anything, it's showing my kids how resilient women can be and how we can balance everything and not just be one thing. Because I started to realize with my kids as they were getting older that I was showing them that women didn't have a voice, that women were just there to kind of lean into whatever their dreams were and help them, support them, and uplift them. But them as men didn't have to do anything for the women. And that's when I realized, like, oh no, I need to shift the way that I'm living my life, because what I'm doing is showing them the complete opposite of what I want them to do.
Ooh, that's good. Because so how many times do we not realize? I mean, as a mom, you want to protect your kid, you want to do everything for your kids, but you're also realizing that what you're doing, how you're treating yourself, how you're letting them treat you, how you're treating them, how your relationship with your spouse, like that's all affecting their
Absolutely.
worldview and how they think.
It affects it so much. I remember a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with one of my boys, and they were sharing with me about another friend, and how they had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend wouldn't let them hang out with their friends and do all these other things, and they had activities, and they wouldn't let them do their extracurricular activities because she wanted to spend time with them. And my son was like, when I start dating, my girlfriend is going to understand that sports comes first and my friends come first, and she comes whenever I can fit it in. And that was just like, oh, what do you mean? And that was the real, like, oh my god, what am I teaching these kids? Like, I'm just teaching these kids that whatever, a good woman just kind of sits back and fits in wherever she can fit in. And it's like, no, we need to change this.
What was your reaction when what was your reaction to him when you told him that?
I was like, "You're ridiculous. Are you kidding me?" I said, "That's not the way it is." And he's like, "Yes, it is." And we got a little combative with each other because I'm trying to explain to him that women, or partners or whoever you date, have every right to be a part of your life. Not that they need to take away from you, but include them in your life, include them in whatever you're doing. But what do you mean they just come in whenever you can fit them in? Like, no, then you don't have any business having a girlfriend. You have no business having somebody in your life if that's what it is. But that's when I came to the realization that that's what I was showing them myself, that it was okay to allow the person that you're with to say, I'll fit you in when I can. My friends come first, my extracurricular activities come first, my job comes first, my extended family comes first. But that was what I was showing my kids. And it was like, I have to put myself first. Like, that's not fair. Like, what do you mean? So that's when you see it through your kids' eyes, it's completely different than seeing it through your own eyes, because you, as yourself, you're always finding the reason to rationalize whatever you're allowing. But when you see it through your kids' eyes, it's like, oh no, it's right in your face, it's a mirror in your face, and you realize that things need to change.
Has he since changed his
Oh,
tune?
absolutely, 100%. 100%.
You're like, we are stopping this right now.
And that child there, he's very lucky where the girlfriend that he has is very understanding, that he does have friends and that he has sports and that he has a job. But he includes her and she wants to be a part of it. So if he has sports or extracurricular, if she can, she'll go. If he wants to hang out with their friends, cool, you can go with your friends, but I'm gonna go out with mine. And that's an understanding. So then, and they spend time together when they can. So I hope that I've also taught that to him. Like, there's a balance. You can do things together, you can do things separate, and you can, it's okay. But
Yeah.
don't say whenever you can fit them in.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, I could think this kind of flows into what you do, right? Because being a mortgage loan officer, you're in finance, and
Yeah.
finance is a very male dominated
Oh,
industry.
yeah.
Um, how have you been able to work? At what point, when did you start within the mortgage industry? And what has changed in regards to how you weave yourself within that industry to make sure that you are taking up space, that you are advocating, but you're still being true to yourself?
Well, I started in the business when I was 19.
Oof,
It
right
was
away.
Yes, it was a summer job before college. It was just supposed to be for the summer, really. It was. I got, I
You
guess,
mean you
lucky.
didn't dream of being a
No,
loan
this was.
officer?
The other day I was thinking, like, I remember when they called me that I got the job. I was thinking, like, okay, just for the summer, like, I'll be good. But I got lucky in a sense where the supervisor that worked there, she took me under her wing and she like taught me everything. So I learned every facet of the mortgage industry, from being a receptionist to being an assistant to processing a loan, which is the people that approve your loans, and then becoming a loan officer. But it started because she was so kind to teach me the business. And she was tough. She was one of those like Devil Wears Prada, like that. Like she was tough. She would make you cry. But I learned so much, and I've been able to turn it into a 25-year career because of everything that she was willing to show me. And it is a very male dominated world. It's been that way the entire 25 years I've been here. But you learn to navigate the system, and I think I'm lucky because I have learned every phase of it. So I know that if I get a no here, it might be a yes over here, and it's okay to ask questions and to push back, and to, one no is doesn't necessarily mean it's a no forever. And there are men that see you and they're like, you're a woman, like, let me talk to the man. So I do join forces with my business partner who is a man. So when they don't want to talk to me, then I'm like, hey, and I talk behind him and I like tell them this is what I want. I don't know if you've seen the meme when it's there's one person typing and the person's behind them telling them what to type. That's us. And so you just learn to navigate it. Unfortunately, it is 2026, but there are certain spectrums that haven't changed. You still are dealing with a lot of sexism and racism in certain places, and you just learn to navigate it. You take up space where you can, and you break the glass roof where you can. And I advocate for my clients as much as I can. I work predominantly with Latinas and women and minorities because I know that those are the people that don't have a voice. And that's where my passion has been over the last couple of years, because I meet so many people, not just Hispanic people, but just so many women. And why not empower them with teaching them about home financing? Because
Yeah.
so many people believe it's part of those minimize the way that you feel in front of other men or other people. No, let's empower you by teaching you about home financing. You could probably buy a house by yourself and you didn't even realize it, just because somebody else has told you you need a man in your life in order to qualify to buy a house. No, you don't. That was in the
Yeah.
1800s. Now you
Yeah.
can definitely buy a house by yourself.
Yeah. And I would even reframe, like, not that they've been told they don't have a voice. They have a voice, but need your voice.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Right. Because like you said, they've been told they can't do this or they can't do that,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to finances, especially when it comes to home ownership. I mean, did you ever watch Sex in the City?
absolutely.
Okay, you remember when Miranda was getting her apartment
Yes.
and she's like, "Oh, who's doing this? Are you doing this by yourself?" She's like,
Mhm.
"Yep, all by myself, all by myself." And everybody's like, "Don't you have somebody? Don't you have a man you can share?" She's like, "No, all by myself, all by myself."
Myself, yes. And that's still the stigma now. I mean, if you ever talk to somebody, if you're in a group of women and somebody says, I'm buying a house, and you're like, oh, who are you buying it with? And it's automatic. It's not that you're trying to be rude, or it's not that you're trying to, downsize whatever they're doing. It's just automatic thought. Like, you're buying
Yeah.
it by yourself without anybody else. I mean, and it's and other people read off of that vibe, and it's like, no, you can most definitely buy a house by yourself. Let me empower you with the knowledge of it. Let me show you the path to it and get you to home ownership, because it's so empowering to be able to say, hey, I own this by myself. Our parents came here to teach us, and we always say the American dream is to own a house. So why not get there? I mean, it's so possible.
How are you feeling about that dream right now? Because obviously, especially in California, we're in a housing shortage, but
Hmm.
also, and tell me if I am wrong, because you're the professional. but it just feels like we're having this excessive, and maybe not just in California, but obviously because California is so desirable, that we have this. I think I was looking up in San Diego, and I think it's like 20% of homes are owned by investment companies in San Diego.
Yeah.
And there's also been, and I don't know if this was nationwide. I know it was here, and I think it was in California. Like apartments are so expensive, and there was this software that was kind of skewing the rates that like all of these apartment companies were using. And it feels like these investors, they're buying houses, holding on to them, which is making the inventory scarce and then driving prices up. Am I on the right track with that? And if so, what, like it feels like we're just in a not we're in a poker game we can never win.
I don't think that that's necessarily fact. Are there investors out there? Absolutely. I mean, they've always been out there. They've always gone out there and they've purchased homes and they flip homes and they're trying to fix them. I mean, right now is definitely a buyer's market. I tell everybody, people are trying to sell at rapid rates. So,
And let
but
me be I apologize for interrupting. I just want to be clear. I meant like investment companies, not just like in like a
well, investment companies are purchasing the homes, but it's always been something that's out there. It's not something new. It's not like suddenly all these investment companies are coming in and purchasing homes to hold on to them. That's something that's been around for generations. That's just the way it is. That's the way the market is. It doesn't necessarily drive prices up. What rent's going up is because housing prices are going up. So then you have to offset the rent with it, because they have to be able to cover their mortgage if there's a mortgage on it, especially if it's in a desirable area. Because, for example, here in our area after the fires, rents went up to $6,000 a month because they knew there was supply and demand. I mean, now if you try to put that same apartment up for rent for $6,000, people are going to laugh and say you're ridiculous. But at that moment, supply and demand. So that's what dictates whatever the rental price is, and not so much that investment companies are coming in and purchasing and holding on to properties. But I do think that it's a great time to buy. People are really desperate to sell for different reasons. When the economy is where it is right now, a lot of people want to move out of California because it's so expensive. The other is because people got into debt. We had COVID, we had the real estate meltdown, we had all these different things going on. People went through their savings, maxed out their credit cards. So where do you dip in? So people started to sell their homes. So now there's an excess of homes and people are getting desperate. So what I mean by it's a buyer's market is that somebody can come in, the house has been on the market for 4 months, the seller will give you a credit towards your closing costs in order to entice you to buy their home. So it's definitely a
totally
great time to
different.
buy.
No, I know it's totally different now. It's so crazy. I mean, I think also people think, and that I think people need to know, and I feel like my audience realizes this, but maybe others don't. Um, the time of 2 to 3% interest rates, that was a very short time period.
Oh yeah, it
We
was.
hadn't seen that before COVID. We're
Mhm.
not going to see that again because that was a very, very specific time frame, and to help stimulate, people buying homes and everything. But
Yeah,
we're not going to see that again.
we might. I mean, I don't know. It might happen again in our lifetime. I mean, it's been in conversations, but I think that if you're going to sit and wait for that 2%, you're never going to buy.
Yeah. Right. Maybe refinance at that 2%. You can't just wait and buy at that
Yes,
2%.
I think that, a lot of people get very rate sensitive, but people need to remember that you're never going to have a balance between values and rates. If one is higher, then the other one is lower, but it's never right in the middle. And people keep waiting. I mean, I think it's always a good time to buy anytime. You can always go back and refinance down the line. Why not? But you're never going to find the same house for, 500,000 or 600,000. The values are going to continue to climb. So
Yeah.
why not buy when it's at a decent price and then refinance in a couple of years? You always have that ability. And
Yeah.
one of the other things that I'm finding right now is that a lot of people are in debt, but they don't want to touch that 2% interest rate that they had, but they have a ton of equity. So one of the things that I'm telling more people is like, you can get a home equity line of credit right now. Get it, consolidate all of your debt. Now, instead of paying $1,000 a month in 10 different bills, you can have one bill that's like maybe $400. Now you have breathing room. And once the rates come back down, we can consolidate both loans. And yes, it won't be the 2%, but you've also saved a ton of money on monthly payments.
Yeah. Now, just for my fellow or for my friends who are considering moving out of California,
Mm-hmm.
let me just tell you, as somebody who has lived in 3 other states outside of California and couldn't wait to get, I lived outside of California for a total of 16 years.
Oh, wow.
So I know what I'm talking about. And I think there's also studies on this that like over 50% of people who leave California come back.
Oh, yeah.
Because
California's
guess what? You're not in California anymore. And no matter where you go, it's not going to be like here. Yes,
beautiful.
it may be expensive. There's a reason for that, right? Yes, it may
Right.
be expensive, but the fact is there's no place
Like California.
like California. There's
You
no
get
place.
the mountains. You can get snow too when you have it when it snows.
Yeah, you can have the mountains, you have the desert, you have the beaches.
Right.
I think actually I think specifically in San Diego we have more microclimates than anywhere else in the world.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
I was just reading something on it, which it doesn't doubt because literally I live by the bay. So I
Mm-hmm.
live like I can see the bay from the corner of the house. So I'm about a mile away from the bay.
Oh, that's so cool. That must be so beautiful.
Love, right? So we can get that marine layer and it can be nice and cool here. And you go 10 minutes and it's way hot. Then you go to farther East County and you hit Borrego Springs and you have full on desert. And you have,
Right.
then even sometimes in Julian, it can snow every once in a while in Julian. Like we have, like,
All
apparently,
these different climates.
we have all of the different climates here. And I wouldn't look, I love San Diego. I like visiting LA, but I have no desire to move to LA.
I love my area. I've always lived here, so I can't imagine I would maybe live in New York, but California and here is my place.
Yeah, New York. I love New York. Yeah.
It's beautiful there. I've been there when it snows. I've been there in the summer, and I love it.
So you also authored a book or a novel, not even just a book, but
Yeah,
a novel.
I did.
The One Who Stayed.
Yes,
And is that based on is it, I'm
my
guessing
life.
it's fiction, but kind of like loosely
It,
based on your life?
it's a fictional book. It's based on all the emotions that you go through as your marriage falls apart, and it not necessarily just focused on on marriage in general, or my marriage, or anybody's marriage. It's more so on the things that we go through ourselves. It's more of an empowerment book for women to understand the things that we were talking about earlier, the things that we're groomed into believing about ourselves, and the way that we choose to navigate relationships, and how it's, at some point you have to realize that you deserve so much better. You deserve to be respected. You deserve for somebody to make time for you. You deserve to have a voice. You deserve to take up space anywhere you want to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I think that, we grow up believing that there's something wrong with you if you think any of that. So the point of the book was just to empower women to understand it's okay. You deserve so much better, and there's nothing wrong with you voicing that you deserve better. And I'm in no way telling anybody you should get divorced or you should stay with somebody. I'm just telling you that you have every right to take up that space and to say, I deserve more, and whatever facet that means for you.
If you could tell little Sandra, your inner niña,
Yes.
if you could tell her anything, what would it be?
It would be live your dreams. And don't ever let anybody, tell you that you couldn't live your dreams.
Are
Because
you
I've
living
done
your
it for
dream now?
the last 5 years, and it's just been, fantastic.
So you're living your dream now.
I am living my dreams every single day. I have a huge bucket list, and I keep going down every single one of them. And I've just been living everything that I could, and everything that my wildest dreams could have ever imagined. And I just do it fearlessly now, and without apology to anybody. I lived a long time worrying about other people's opinions, worrying about taking up too much space, or dreaming too big. And now I don't care. So like now I'm doing all of these amazing things. I'm traveling around the world. I'm writing books. I'm trying to to show other people that you can do that and it's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with it. And you just don't even know what's on the other side of believing that you do deserve so much more.
Do you think that your sons have seen a shift in you, or have they ever acknowledged a shift in you?
They have. I mean, I'm just a whole different other person. I'm night and day. Even if you talk to somebody that knows me, my kids, if they've noticed anything, is that I am more willing to do a lot more things and not care so much about other people's opinions, because that was a lot of things that stopped me from doing a lot of the goals that I had. And now I'm living them and I'm empowering them as my children. Like, go out and travel and live your dreams. And what are your goals? And I share them with me. I want to know what they are because I want to be able to be supportive and push you towards them. And that wasn't something I would do before. And now I know that they can see that in me, and they can see me smiling, and they see me happier because I am happier. Because when you're being told that you can't do so many things and you're always worried about everybody else's opinions, how are you going to be happy? You're always worrying about what everybody else is going to think.
Wine break. Time to refill that glass and come back for more Wine and Chisme. Hola, Wine and Chisme familia. We've got some exciting news to share. The Wine and Chisme now has a voicemail line. That's right, you can literally call us, leave your thoughts, questions, or even suggest topics you want us to dive into on future episodes. Whether you want to share how an episode resonated with you, or ask about previous wines we've featured, or even tell us about your own chisme, we want to hear your voice. Porque este podcast has always been about connection, and now we can make that connection even more real. So grab your phone and call us at 858-304-0266. Leave us a message, tell us your name, where you're calling from, and whatever's on your heart. Who knows, your voice might be featured on an upcoming episode. Because at the end of the day, Wine and Chisme is about all of us coming together, sharing our stories, and celebrating our community. Now, be a part of the podcast in a whole new way. Again, that number is 858-304-0266. We want to hear from you. Yeah. Isn't it so nice when you no longer have to worry about what everybody else thinks, when you're just like, okay, you know what? I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm happy with me. I'm happy with how the person that I am. And if you're not, bye.
And you just live a whole different life. I mean, it's just, you can breathe. Even entertaining, like my household has always been the house that entertained all the time. And I was always so anxious whenever we would entertain, because I knew the majority of the people were coming over just to criticize. And so when the shift happened, I cut out a lot of people out of my life. And, some of it was family and some of it was friends or people that I just knew. And I created a new, smaller circle of people that really wanted to be supportive, that really wanted to be here to share memories, to be, a part of our lives as much as we were a part of theirs. And in seeing that change, my kids kind of shifted the type of people that they started surrounding themselves with as well. And it was more of, I want to be around people that are here to be supportive. And even in listening to them when they're talking about certain friendships, it's like, well, they want everybody to follow their lead, but I'm not going to do whatever they want. I have my own thoughts and I have my own things, the way I want to do things. And it was like, okay, great. Then this shift is manifesting onto them, which is great.
So I know you said you had a shift when you was 40, but what was it? Like, was there something that happened? Was it like, what was it that you were just like, I'm not living like this anymore. I got to change. I got to do something different.
I was going through a lot in my personal life. My marriage started to fall apart and it started to affect my kids. It was affecting me emotionally. It was affecting me mentally. And at one point, one day I was working and I sat there and I was just thinking about everything that was going on. And I was like, something has to change. And I've done therapy for years. I don't know if you've ever done therapy, but I did it for years, but I never really fully invested into it. You kind of go and you go, okay, I've gone. So then I started to go and I really started to do the work where I was really committed to, okay, something needs to change. And as I started to really do the work and dig in and figure out what was going on and what needed to change, I started to realize, like, okay, I don't want to live like this anymore. I need to cut out people out of my life that, are just draining. I need to change the way that I think about myself. I need to find self-love for me, because expecting somebody else to do that for me is not helping, because then I'm just setting them up for failure, because that's unfair. Like, they can't change my mind. They can't change my heart. Like, that is only something I can do for myself. So as I started to change that mentality, then that really changed. And as I started to change, I started to really, really have a lot more of an open mind and an open heart for all of the things that I wanted to do in my life. And that's when I started to have a bucket list, and I'm like, okay, let's start marking things off. And I started to do more of the things that I wanted to do, which one of them was traveling. I've traveled so much in the last 5 years, and I'm so grateful. And it may sound ridiculous, but one of the things I really wanted to see was the Mississippi River. I mean, I had heard about it and I've seen about it. And, we're living in my community. You hear a lot about slavery and stuff. So going and being able to see that. And I went with really good friends and my spouse, and we had a fantastic time, and, learning about the history and everything. But those are the small things that are bucket list things. And they just are things that I wouldn't have done before. And even doing what I do now, writing a book 5 years ago was unthinkable. I would have been like so embarrassed, like, oh my God, what are people going to say? There were a lot of people that were like, aren't you embarrassed to write that book? Like, people are going to read it. What? So what? It's not about me. It's just a fictional book that
You're
I
like,
put
that's
together.
why I'm writing it.
I wouldn't like it. But I wouldn't have done that 5 years ago. And now I was like, and my kids were so encouraging. When I first wrote it, I didn't tell anybody I wrote it. I told my kids. And I was like, hey, I wrote this book. And they're like, what? And they're like, what are you going to do with that? I said, I don't know. I'm like, I just wrote it just for fun. And they're like, well, now you got to go all in. And I was like, I don't know. And I kept going back and forth. And they're like, Mom, you need to go all in. Like, if you wrote a book, you need to make sure that you get it done. And I was like, okay. And even when I did my book launch, they were there and they were supportive, and they were like, come on, Mom, if you're going to go in, you got to go all in. And so, because they have been my anchors, they have been my crutch, they have been my supporters, that right there has been the biggest reason that I made such a big change, because they're watching me, and whatever I'm showing them is what they're going to put out to whatever relationships they have. And I don't want to just leave humans. I want to leave good humans that know how to be good partners, that know how to be good to other people, and that are respectful of others, and that are encouraging of other people's thoughts and goals, and aren't just like, well, I want you to think like me. Like, no, everybody thinks differently, and we're going to respect the way that other people think.
That's so awesome. It sounds like your boys really kind of absorb your energy and see what you're doing, and like take the lead from you in regards to the things that they see, the things how they act, the friends that they surround themselves with. That's so awesome, Sandra. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. I mean, they're my pride and joy. They're my biggest heartache, but they're also my pride and joy. And I hope that I leave good humans behind for the rest of the world.
Is there anything in this journey that you've had, and it could be no, right? But I'm gonna actually ask, it's like a twofold question.
Okay.
What do you think has been your biggest failure that has really propelled you forward? Mm-hmm. And is there anything that you would change in this journey?
My biggest failure initially was allowing my kids to think that you could treat a woman or your partner however you want, that they're just an accessory in your life. That really made me change the way that I thought about myself, the way that I've lived my life recently, the way that I do things. That has been my biggest failure. And I hope that every day that I'm allowed to be with them, that God gives me life, that every day I'm teaching them how to be better. And then I'm showing them how to better treat somebody, and not just women, but anybody, humans. Because that's really, really important. And I think that will forever live with my heart. And could I change, if I could go back and change it? Absolutely. I would go back and make so many changes in my life, and where I didn't have self-love for myself and allowed myself to be treated a certain way. I would definitely go back and say, hey, stupid, like, stop allowing yourself to be that way. You have a voice for a reason.
Oh my gosh. Now, if people want to get your book, where
Yes.
can they go?
They can go to Amazon. I have it in Spanish and English, so you can have both. It's on Amazon. It's on Audible, Barnes & Noble. If you're in my area, they also have it at the Octavia Butler bookstore. So
Wait, do you
Yeah,
have a publisher? Or is it self-published?
it's self-published, but I've
But the
had
fact that you could get it in Barnes and Noble, girl, that's
Barnes and Noble.
amazing.
Yes.
Love that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
And if people have questions about, especially right now, they're like, can I get something? Maybe like if they just have general questions about
Mortgages, yes, they
mortgages.
can definitely find me online. I'm at www.loanpartner.us, or you can find me on social media. I'm always dropping different videos on small nuggets for mortgages or whatever's going on with the market at that time. You can find me. My IG handle is the Loan Partner, and you can definitely find me on IG or TikTok. And I try to post every single day something new. I'm doing more Spanish content because I was doing mostly English, but because I'm really trying to push for our Hispanic community, I'm trying to push out more Spanish content. So you can definitely find me online as well.
And we'll make sure to put all of the links in the show notes. Sandra, I want to make sure if there's, I know we just had, I feel like we just had like just a girl conversation. I love it. I love it. But we got to talk about so much that
I
I think
know.
many people can really, really relate to. But if there's anything else that you want to share, I want to make sure that I give you that opportunity to do so.
Um, I think the only thing I want to share is, believe that you can do anything. I'm here to help you, to empower you with home financing knowledge, even if you're not ready to buy or you think you don't qualify, or maybe you know somebody that is interested and they just don't know where to start. Send them to me. I'm happy to help. I'm here to help. Don't think I'm going to judge your income or your credit. That's not what I'm here for. Si nomás estoy allí para eso, like I don't have a job. So definitely send them my way. Read my book. If you're in a place where you're kind of at a crossroads where you don't know, I've heard a lot of people, I've been very blessed to have a lot of people that have read my book call me and say that they feel themselves in at least one of the chapters in the book. So if it helps at least one person, that means the world to me. So pick it up, Audible, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and I hope it helps somebody.
Yes, go now. We love hearing these conversations. I know so many women can relate to what you
Yeah,
said. I mean, both they can relate with our stories, all right? Our little
I know.
Callajera stories in the
That was
beginning.
bad. It was a good thing we grew up when there was no cell phones and no trackers.
Oh my gosh. I am so glad. I am so glad because even when we used to go to TJ, there was not cell phones were not a big thing,
No,
right?
right.
And I can't imagine. I mean, we were wild. We
Can you
were
imagine your mom
wild.
knowing exactly where you were actually at half of the time?
Oh my gosh. No, that would be horrible. Half the
And all the
time.
times that you ditch school, because I used to ditch school all the time.
Oh
And
my gosh. I did too. But you know what was worse? It was, I would ditch school like my sophomore year. I would ditch school and my mom worked at the school. So nobody ever questioned it. So I got away with
oh,
so
so how did
much
she know that you were not at school?
because she was the cheer coach.
Oh,
And
okay.
so well, she wasn't a teacher,
Yeah.
but even though the staff knew her, they just like, but my senior year, I ditched so much because we moved to Albuquerque between my junior and senior, or between my sophomore and junior year, and I hated it. So I ditched school all the time. I had to go my senior year, I had to go to night school to catch up just so I could graduate. And in my yearbook, there's so many people saying it either said, I love how I could just look at you and you would start giggling, which is still me, right? Still exactly how I am. But then it would be, then the other half of the yearbook would be like, you came to class for a week straight. Yay.
That sounds like one of my really good friends. She was like that. She was never at school, ever. I don't even think she graduated. She tried doing night school to try to finish the credits, and she was like, forget it, school's not for me. So she
No,
would just,
I did. It wasn't that I hated school. It was just I grew up in San Diego and to be ripped from everything I knew 2 weeks before my junior year.
yeah.
It was just like I was so unmotivated when we moved to Albuquerque.
And when did you move out of Albuquerque?
A week after I graduated high school, we moved back. I know. And I had begged one of my friend's parents had said I could stay with them to finish high school. Pero you know, my mom's like, no, we move as a family. Nobody stays behind. Da, la, la,
Yeah.
la.
You still got to move back.
And I still moved back. And then and then that's why my parents were so shocked when I told them I was going to move to Texas. They're like, what?
And how was
And
Texas?
I moved for a job. I just was like, look, I'm young, I'm single, I don't have kids. If I'm going to do something like this, do it now. And
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it. Like I grew up in California, in San Diego, but I feel like I became an adult while I
Yeah.
was in Dallas because I moved like a month before my 22nd birthday.
Oh, you were young.
Yeah, I was a baby and I drove by myself halfway across the country.
Wow.
And now, and then moving back here, I was almost, I think I was 38, 39 when I moved back
Mhm.
to California. And it was hard starting over because I had built a life for myself in Texas, but it was just, it was always like nothing ever fully worked. And even when I was staying with my parents in Orange County, nothing ever fully worked. When
It
I
was just
moved back home to San Diego, everything clicked. Everything was like, everything started moving into place. Everything clicked. I met my husband, like I met my now husband. We're in the process of starting to look for homes to purchase and everything. And um, but I say that to just, I know you can relate, but don't ever give up. If you don't feel like something is right, there's something better for you.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where people shut off. They think like, oh, this is all I'm worth. No, there's something out there that's way better for you. You just have to wait a little bit longer. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I tried to make Dallas fit for a long time. Nothing like it was never my personal life and my professional life were never copacetic.
Parallel.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were never synced up. Never. It was always one was high, one was low, one was high, one was low. And when I moved back to San Diego, when I moved back home where my heart is,
Hmm.
everything synced up.
That's so good. I hope you're able to find a house.
Me too. I think my husband's a lot more. I mean, not that believe me, I'm so excited
Mm.
because I can't wait. First of all, I can't wait to have an office where I could
Yeah.
record, right? Because I'm in my living room.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have a yard for the dogs.
Hmm.
And I can't wait to be able to have my family over and
Yeah.
be able to like actually stay and host, you know, stuff. Thanks, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. I can't wait for that day. Um, but my husband, he's been like looking a lot more than I have. Cause I'm like, no,
When
cause
you walk in, when you walk into the house will tell you that's home. Because
yeah,
this house, I've been here for 23 years, 22 years. And it kept coming up on the listings every time we went to go talk to a real estate agent. And my cousin lives across the street. And she was telling me at that time, no, this is really ghetto. Like there's drive-bys. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to live there. Because she was talking about what an ugly street this was. And finally, one day we were like, okay, fine. Like it keeps coming up on the listings. Let's go see it. And we had been searching for houses for about 4 months already, and we hadn't found anything. So I'm like, fine, let's go look. As soon as I walked in, I was like, this is home. And my husband was like, are you sure? Because you kept saying no. And I was like, no, this is home. And he's like, but it's on this street. And I was like, I don't care. This is home. And at the time, we only had our 23-year-old. He was like one at the time, I think. And I was like, I could imagine all the family gatherings, kids growing up in the backyard. Like I just saw it, and I was like, this is
yeah.
it. The same
Oh,
thing will
I
happen with you
love
guys.
that. I
You
know
guys
the
will
one
walk in and be like that.
I can't wait for that because one of the things that is really important to me, because right, we always have to think of all the things that are important, is that it's a neighborhood, not just, I grew up always knowing my neighbors. Like even now we are in a apartment complex. I know I have every single one of my neighbors' phone number.
That's so cool.
I know all of my neighbors. We're like even in Dallas, I knew my neighbors, in my apartment. Like my parents, they invite all of the neighbors over for parties and stuff like that. That's how I've always grown up. Like when we lived in Albuquerque, our house was like the party block house, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something that's important to me. I don't want to just I don't just want to live in a house. I want to live in a home and I want to live in a neighborhood.
That's really cool. I mean, here, because all of our neighbors had lived here forever. Next door, one of my high school friends lived next door. I mean, he's since moved out and married now because we're old. But when we first moved in, they live next door. My cousin lives across the street. Her son is the same age as my 23-year-old. So our kids grew up together. They were always even now. They're one is here or there. They're always like that. My best friend's uncle lived across the street. Like there was always like somebody I knew. So like everybody knew each other. Over time, people have passed, people have moved, so it's all brand new neighbors. But I mean, I wouldn't change anything. My kids grew up around family and they grew up around people I knew. So I always knew that they were safe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Sandra, thank you so much for sharing. I had such a good time. Like I said, I just feel like, I wish we were just sitting next to each other because that's how I feel like we were just, total chisme session, total chisme session.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And until next time, mi gente.
Bye.
Hola, mi gente. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wine and Chisme podcast. If you would like to hear more wine and more chisme, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Saludos.